What the heck is that? That's what my wife said. It's my new coffee grinder. It's a Hario. There we go. And these grinders are awesome. They're kind of like the price of a Daewoo with a Mercedes transmission in there. You can't see it right now because it's covered with coffee beans. It's got ceramic burr grinder. And they put this in a $30 grinder. However, it's hand cranked. And me, liking to build things, said, "Oh, look at that. There's a thing that turns." Now, my whole thing is I don't want to put yet another appliance on the counter. Plus, I get to make something. Yeah, I probably could have bought a grinder for $100, but where's the fun in that? Anyway, so essentially, I'm trying to go with the whole Jules Verne theme. So I'm going to try to get more copper on this thing, but basically as much copper as practically possible. Obviously here it was really good to use a hose clamp. The zip ties. Yeah, that's ugly. I'll deal with that later. Anyway, there's some wreckage from working on my workbench, which is now a piece of MDF I found and some pipes I bought and the kitchen floor. Anyway, so we're going to fire it up here in a minute. Let's let it run. Videotape is cheap nowadays. So I don't have a leveling feature yet. Okay, so essentially, so the KitchenAid has a 7/16 square drive. Of course, it's right in the middle of 3/8 and 1/2 for your common tool sets. So what I did was I found, if I can get it out of here, basically what I ended up doing was taking a socket. I still gotta pull up. This is like literally the first time I've been trying. Okay, so basically I took a socket, and you can see here, as I turn it, some of the edges are flattened. This used to be this is a donor socket from one of my American socket sizes because I don't use them as much, and it's like I don't remember what size it was. But either way, it had a 1/4-inch drive, so it could fit on this guy, right? And basically, this is my drive line to get it out of the housing up here. You got to get it out of there so you have a little more flexibility. Anyway, and then being that this is hex and it has to go into a 1/4-inch socket, you can actually just grind a couple of the corners off, and boom, you're locked in. Now, what fits on this Milescraft here, this is again a hex socket. It's actually a 9mm hex, but they round on 3 sides, so I had to unround them to build it correctly. So there's your drive line. Okay. Now you got that set in place. The next challenge in building this thing was dealing with the so this is my adjusting mechanism here, basically how I can take it apart. Okay, so the next challenge was the Hario comes with a 5-point socket. Looks like it's around a 1/4-inch. 5-point socket drive. You're not going to find penta drives anywhere I looked. I only found like 13/16 and other things like that. So I was out on the deck the other day playing with the kids, trying to figure out what to do, and lo and behold, I found a hunk of copper tubing. So I pounded it on top of a punch that is tapered to expand it, and once I had the copper expanded enough, then I started, and actually literally probably it went 2/3 of the way down on this stainless steel shaft, or at least it's steel with some chrome on it. I figured that the metal is harder than the copper, and the copper will yield. All I need to do is get it yield enough so that it sits on there all the way. When I did pound on this guy, of course I had the whole thing apart. I put this shaft on top of a piece of wood, and I figured that, I'll destroy some wood or whatever, because I want to protect this piece. This is like, this and a transmission are critical. So anyway, once you got that set up, then they can plug together real nicely. Again, it's not always perfect like a socket set, but then you only need to engage it a couple times. Okay, so basically I slide it back on here. It's not engaging. I'll rotate it a little bit. Or you can just kind of fiddle with it. And eventually, there we go. And we engage. So then from there, I just go for leveling everything out. Just kind of straightening things out here. You can see this is a hose clamp. I got some of that counter drawer, white, foamy, sticky stuff you put in your drawer. I don't know what it's called. There's probably get a name for it. And then, yeah, you just tighten it all up. So basically, I go here, and I adjust it to where I like it. Tighten it up. Got a hose back here. Again, my wife didn't like the look of this thing. She's like, that's scary looking, but you know what? It's about making things work. Anyway, with that, just get it fired up. Okay, so for the moment, I need to raise it up on top of a couple plates. So you got your complimentary Disney plate, something else from the Pottery Barn years and years ago. And you just plug it all in. Again, this is like the first time I've actually used it, so hopefully it'll be prettier later on. In the meantime, the only thing I have to worry about is rotational. This thing takes care of holding this guy still, and so there's a slight torque going this way. However, I have some more pipe and some other stuff. What I want to work on is getting this pipe to come out of here, and then I'm going to flare it out and bolt it to the sides of this guy. And then eventually I'll cover the whole thing with copper and maybe put a Jules Verne picture or something on it. Anyway, so all I'm going to do right now is hold the bottom and crank it up, and there we go. It does have a little bit of motion. Transmission is pretty close. But the point is, once I get this locked down here, I basically have a coffee grinder attachment. I have to leave the lid off for now. I'll figure out a long-term solution for that. There we go. So, and the good part is, that's it. So, smells good. Sounds like perfect time for a cup of coffee, 11:30 at night. So, there you go. Kitchen grinder, KitchenAid, mixer, grinder, attachment. Fun thing to do in between writing code.